Well, here I am again, out in the middle of nowhere. I lost myself in the woods before, and I just did it again, and we're going to talk about Job. And we're going to talk about Job, and the last time that we talked, he was not in a good place. He found himself under the attack of Satan, and he lost a lot of stuff. Disaster struck. He was blindsided. Remember, we talked about that. And in being blindsided, he lost so many things. He lost his wealth. He lost just numerous crops. His whole herd. He was a very wealthy man, and he lost it all in a disaster. And then he also lost some of his buildings, some of his houses, and last he lost his family. I don't know about you guys, but losing your family would be horrible. I absolutely would just be beside myself. And that's where we kind of find ourselves with Job. We find him beside himself. And we're starting a new chapter, chapter 2. And Job, once again, is going to be under the attack of Satan. But Satan comes from wandering around the earth, and God is having a get together with his angels and stuff like that, and Satan comes wandering in, and God says, "Where have you been?" And obviously God knows exactly where he's been. It's more a, Satan, you're going to answer me because I'm in charge. And that's where we find ourselves. And we're going to be looking at chapter 2 and just kind of what goes on and this next step of being blindsided, of having a disaster strike. So let's take a minute and let's look at Job chapter 2 verses 3 through 6. Well, I decided to just take a moment and sit down and kind of relax, enjoy beautiful creation. And I want to talk about Job chapter 2 verses 4 through 6. And I actually kind of wanted to get a different perspective, someone else that knows Job and has studied it. And I just happened to find this guy, Tony. Pastor Tony's with me. So Tony, why don't you go ahead and kind of share with us kind of what you know about Job and just that part of the scripture we're talking about.
Right, I'd love to. I was out checking my traps out here and saw Ben going by, and
that's right.
So it just worked out perfect. Well, Job is in quite the pickle, isn't he? He's got to decide how he's going to respond to the trials that he's going through. And Job chapter 2, verses 4 through 6, Satan has a chance to respond to God, and he responds to God by saying, "A skin for a skin. A skin for a skin." Yes, all that a man has, he will trade to save his own life. All that a man has, he'll trade to save his own life. And Satan is doing what he does best. He's accusing. And he's accusing Job of being willing to not curse God only if he has to give up other things. And so he has lost his family, his kids, he's lost his livestock, and all these things, and Satan's saying, yeah, you traded other skins for skin. That was a bartering term from their day, to trade equal for equal, a skin for a skin. And Satan says, yeah, but if it comes down to Job's life, Job will then curse you to your face, God. He will curse you to your face because he has to trade now his own skin and not somebody else's. And we'll find out where Job's character is at with that in a little bit.
So this is kind of like Satan's last-ditch effort to really just nail Job, right?
Yeah,
that's kind of what it is.
And he really grabs onto human character, Satan does, because Abraham did this. When it came down to trading a skin for a skin, Abraham saved his own life by lying and saying, yeah, she's my sister, she's not my wife, don't kill me. And Peter did the same thing. He denied Christ 3 times to save his own skin. He was willing to give up Jesus to save his own skin. And it's human character, but will Job, the most righteous person on the face of the earth, God says, do the same thing? And that's kind of the question.
That is the question. All right, hey Tony, Pastor Tony, thank you so much for taking this time. I'll let you get back to whatever you're doing out here in the middle of the woods?
Skin some coyotes.
Skin some coyotes.
Skin
yeah.
for skin if anybody needs
Skin
one.
for skin. Yeah, he's got them. So cool. All right, we'll be right back in a little bit. All right, so I'm back walking in. Let's look at. I want to look at chapter 2 again. We're still in chapter 2. We just got done looking over verses 4 through 6, and that was awesome. We're gonna have Pastor Tony involved in that. But I want to continue on and look at what happens after Satan gives this proposition and that God allows it. This is what I want to read this to you guys. This is going to be Job chapter 2, verses 7 through 10. So I'm going to pause. I want you to pause the video and just take a minute and read this. And I think I'm going to have some scripture up. So if you want to be able to look at it on the screen, you can do that. So pause the video, turn to Job chapter 2, verses 7 through 10. So Job chapter 2, verses 7 through 10. So Satan left the Lord's presence, and he struck Job with terrible boils from head to foot. Job scraped his skin with a piece of broken pottery as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still trying to maintain your integrity? Curse God and die." But Job replied, "You talk like a foolish woman. Should we accept any good things from the hand of God and never anything bad?" So in all this, Job said nothing wrong. All right, guys. So I'm gonna do another little thing here. I'm gonna post in the comments a form that's called House Call, and you guys are gonna be pretending to be doctors, all right? And you're gonna name the symptoms and whatever else that I have in there for the verses, and just look up these verses, make the comments on the symptoms, and just kind of follow the form that I put on the comment section. And I want you to comment in the below and just interact that way. So pause the video now, do that, download it, copy it, however you got to do it, but go ahead and do that right now. All right, guys, we're back, and you guys have just read verses 7 through 10 in chapter 2, and this is what I want you to do. I have a question for you. Verse 10. What is this final statement about Job? There's that thing that is said about Job at the end, and it's pretty important. I want you guys to comment, and just comment below. Pause the video now and comment below what it says. Go. You know, they say what a person says is an expression, or an expression of their deepest thoughts. And we could see here that Job is accurately expressing his deepest thoughts. He not once blames God. Not once does he curse God and die. Not once does he roll over. Yeah, he's in a lot of pain. Yeah, he's lost everything. But he hasn't given up yet, and he's still staying strong in a way that many of us hopefully will never have to experience. Now, I want you guys to take a moment. This is disheartening if you think about this. If you put yourself in Job's place, this would be horrible. I mean, absolutely horrible to have to go through this. How would you react? How would you handle losing everything? Not just your wealth, not just your TV, but your entire family. How would you handle that? I want you guys to take a moment here. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you respond? With 1 being that you would blame God for everything and you would just stop believing in him, and 5 being you wouldn't blame God for any of it and you would just say that God is awesome. So in a time of suffering, how would you respond? Scale 1 to 5. Pause the video and just put a number down. You don't have to make any other comments, just a number. So pause the video now. There's pain, there's suffering. No one's immune to it. Not even Job, not even the most exalted man at that time. By God, God exalted this man, said this guy was awesome. And he wasn't immune to disaster. How are you going to handle it when disaster strikes? How would you get through it? You know, they say that prayer is the best thing. And that is. We need to be praying. And when we're in those times of stress, of struggle and frustration and hurt and disaster, we need to turn to God in those times. And sometimes the best practice for us, as well as praying, is being there for others when they're suffering. So when your friend loses a loved one, we should be there for them. When they lose maybe their dog, when they lose a close family member, we need to be there for them. And we need to just sit there and be there with them. But we're going to continue on with this study, and we're going to see what friends do, what Job's friends do. And maybe they're not the best examples, but we're going to look at that. But thank you guys for checking this out. Thanks for watching and interacting. And my prayer is for you to hopefully never have to experience exactly what Job did, but that when you do go through a disastrous time, that you'll be ready for it, and that you'll trust that God is in control. So that's my prayer for you. Thanks, guys, and once again, I have no idea where I am. So I'm gonna try to find myself out of here. Maybe Tony's back that way. I don't know. I'll figure it out. Anyways, see you guys later.